Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Vysh IAS. Okay, so in this video, we are going to learn about the recent conflict between the Wagner group and the Russian military officials. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so there is this Wagner group. Wagner group is nothing but a mercenary group, a group of mercenary soldiers, and the owner of this group is Yevgeny Prigozhin. And the current context of the situation is that this owner of the group has repeatedly accused Russia's defense minister and Russia's defense officials of incompetence, and some clashes have arisen between Russian defense ministry and the Wagner group. So what actually happened was the Wagner troops, about 5,000 troops, have seized control of the southern Russian city of Rostov-on-Don, and they began to advance on Moscow with the stated aim of removing the military leadership. So that is what is happening currently. However, Prigozhin has stopped the rebellion after having the negotiations with the Vladimir Putin, which is the Russian president. So this is the current context if we talk about the conflict between the Wagner group and the Russian military officials. Okay, okay, so let's understand what a mercenary is. Who are mercenaries? Okay, so I'll try my best to explain everything in very simple language. All right. So the first question is, what is a mercenary or what is a Wagner group? So you all must have heard about a term called mercenary before. So mercenaries are nothing but a group of people who are mostly ex-soldiers. So they may or may not be ex-soldiers, but mostly they can be ex-soldiers, and they are hired by the state to fight on behalf of any state or nation without having any personal political interests. Okay, so they are actually paid huge amounts of money to do their jobs, so they can be considered like a private military. Okay, so you can also think of them as armed civilians who are paid to do military operations in a foreign conflict. So mercenaries are, in a nutshell, individuals or groups who are hired to participate in armed conflicts or military operations in exchange for financial compensation. And also, these mercenaries do not care about patriotism, they just only do their job. And the most important reason behind hiring them is that if they are captured by some other party while carrying out the tasks, those who have captured them, they can easily disown them. Okay, avoid us, that is how they can avoid taking any responsibility. So in a nutshell, mercenaries are like private military group, okay, that any state or nation employs to participate in armed conflicts in foreign territory. So they are not part of the regular military forces of any country and are motivated primarily by financial gain rather than ideological or nationalistic reasons. Like I told, they do not care about patriotism, they do not have any personal political interests, they just do their job for the financial compensation that they get from any state. Okay, so let's talk about what actually happened and how this Wagner group came into existence. So this was established in 2014. Okay, this was first identified in 2014 during Russia's annexation of Crimea. So if you remember, in 2014, Russia has annexed Crimea, and that particular action was supposedly considered an act of invasion by all the other countries of the world. In 2014, it was established for the first time, the Wagner Group, and it provides mercenaries to governments and leads social media disinformation campaigns as well. So okay, it also led social media disinformation campaigns, and it also monitored some fake elections and all these things. It has footprints in Africa and also West Asia. Okay, if apart from Russia, like I said, every state or nation hires these mercenaries and places them in foreign territory so as to secure their own political interests. So obviously, the footprints would be across the different parts of the world. So the Wagner Group has footprints in Africa and also the different countries of West Asia as well. Okay, so the founder of this Wagner Group is Yevgeny Prigozhin. And so this is the company. So he had established this Wagner Group. This is the founder, Yevgeny Prigozhin. He is the founder of Wagner Group. Okay, so like I told, the footprints of Wagner Group are in West Asia and also in Africa. In West Asia, if we talk about Syria, Yemen, and also in Africa, it is Sudan, Mozambique, Madagascar, Democratic Republic of Congo, and also Mali, and finally Libya. So these are the different countries where this Russia's Wagner Group has established its presence. Okay, so let's understand the current situation now. So Yevgeny Prigozhin takes control of this Russian city Rostov-on-Don to oust military leadership. Okay, so after months of heightened tensions between the Russian military and this mercenary Wagner group, so finally Yevgeny Prigozhin, the owner and head of the organization, said that he had taken control of this Russian city. And also then finally, in response to this, Russian President Vladimir Putin responded by describing Prigozhin's action as an armed mutiny. And he also told that the rebels will definitely face some punishment for their betrayal. Okay, so Russian President Putin denounces it as an armed mutiny, and of course, he said that they will definitely face inevitable punishment for their betrayal. Okay, so it also claims of Russian military attacking Wagner encampments. All right. So the role of Russian invasion of Ukraine. Okay, so let's talk about this. Since the outbreak of the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, if you remember in February 2022, that is when the Russia-Ukraine conflict has begun, and this Wagner group has played a pivotal role in advancing Moscow's war efforts. So we can say that the Wagner group has played a major role in Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and that is when it expanded to 50,000 fighters in Ukraine. And also, most of the troops are recruited from prisons who are mostly criminals of this Wagner group. Okay, so now let's talk about the rise of the Wagner group. So, how has it came into existence? Officially, it is known as PMC Wagner. Okay, PMC Wagner, the mercenary organization. So this was first identified in 2014 during Russia's annexation of Crimea. Okay, so it was identified in 2014 during Russia's annexation of Crimea, and it is essentially a network of contractors, okay, that supply soldiers, okay, for hire, and the group finally got registered as a company in 2022, and it also opened a headquarters in Saint Petersburg, and so, the owner and head of this organization, a mercenary organization, is Yevgeny Prigozhin. And also, it openly recruits in Russian cities as a patriotic organization. So initially, so this is the logo of Wagner Group. It was, like I told, PMC Wagner Group. It is known officially by that name. Initially, this group has remained mostly secretive. So, this used to be a secret organization. It usually consisted of not more than 5,000 fighters. So, this used to be active only in West Africa and also, in West Asia. However, in the following years, it also expanded to comprise more than 5,000. It grew from 5,000 to 50,000 fighters, and it actually it holds not only some presence in Ukraine but also in other parts of the country, other parts of the world as well. Okay, so owner Yevgeny Prigozhin. So if we talk about this particular person, Yevgeny Prigozhin, so he was born in 1961, and so he has spent formally served. He has spent 9 years in Soviet jail for robbery and fraud. So after he was released, he started selling some hot dogs, and he had soon established some luxurious restaurants in his hometown, that is St. Petersburg, so where he had established the Wagner Group's headquarters. And finally, after he got released from the jail, he embarked on entrepreneurial path. So that is when he had started his own companies under the name of catering and all these things. And he had also close links to prominent people. That is how he had expanded his business. And also, after Putin became president, he was awarded a host of government contracts as well. So And finally, he was subsequently earned the nickname Putin's chef. The lucrative earnings in the food industry weren't enough for the businessman, so that is when he eventually got into the sector of military service. So he used to be Putin's chef. Okay, so he used to have close contact with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, but finally he came into the private military service. So that is when he started this Wagner group as a mercenary organization. Okay, now if we talk about the countries of activity besides Ukraine, this Wagner group is active in Africa and also West Asian countries. According to media reports, it provides its services to different governments, often in exchange for access to gold and diamond mines. Okay, and in Syria, it fought alongside Russian and Syrian forces. So, what actually happened in Syria was expansion in Syria. Okay, so let's talk about that. So after the annexation of Crimea, the organization, this Wagner Group's fighters, surfaced in Syria for the first time in 2014. Okay. So where a bloody civil war had broken out 4 years ago, which means in 2011, a bloody civil war broke out in Syria, and in 2015, this Wagner Group has surfaced in Syria. So Putin had decided to intervene, so that is how Wagner Group came to this country, and it fought alongside the Russian and Syrian forces. It finally helped quell those conflicts or quell those coups in Syria, and it finally helped in suppressing the disturbances in Syria, and finally it helped in establishing some peace. And that is how it sustained by helping President Bashar al-Assad gain significant ground. And in return, it got oil, gas wells, and mines from ISIS forces. Okay, uh, so these are the different bases in Syria for this Wagner group. Okay, policy in Syria. So, like I told, it established a policy in 2014 to seize oil, gas wells, and mines from ISIS. So, in return, okay, so this is in compensation for what it had done to the Syria. So, like I told, when in 2011 the civil war broke out, the Wagner group had helped the president of the Syria suppress those insurgencies. So, that is why, in return, it got access to these oil as gas fields and also mines from ISIS. And the policy was established in Syria in such a way that whatever company sees these sites from ISIS would get access to those rights. So like that, two Russian companies, including Wagner Group, they finally succeeded in having access to these oil and gas fields. So that is like in compensation to what they had done in suppressing those coups in Syria. Okay. Okay, now if we talk about the Wagner Group presence in Sudan, so this organization first entered the country in 2017 during the reign of the former authoritarian President Omar al-Bashir. Okay, and this Wagner group had provided security and logistical support to al-Bashir, and in exchange, Prigozhin received exclusive rights to gold mines again. So this is like compensation that it is getting for the services that it provided in Sudan. So the benefits that it got was exclusive rights to gold mining, and during this time, Wagner Group owned Yum Invest Company. So under that company, it got exclusive rights to the gold mines. Okay. Okay, so now if we talk about Central African Republic, so here the organization, the mercenary organization Wagner had arrived in Central African Republic in 2018 to protect President Faustin Archange Touadera, okay, again against rebel groups. So if you summarize all these, if you summarize the services of Wagner Group in different countries, it is helping in suppressing the insurgencies. It is helping in suppressing the extremism. In return, it is getting some exclusive rights to mines, oil, and gas fields. So like these, all these things. Okay. So activities, if we talk about activities, it trained local security forces, and of course in return it got rights to diamond and gold mining license. Okay, Central African Republic now, Wagner Group in Mali. Okay, so here current situation is that it is supporting the military government after 2021 group. So this 2021 group, so this has brought in hundreds of Wagner mercenaries to fight extremism in the Sahel region in Mali. So this group, which has access to Mali's uranium, diamond, and gold mines as likely payoffs, okay, it has been accused also of perpetuating war crimes in the country. So also. It is also allegedly killed hundreds of innocent civilians in the numerous attacks that it carried out. And the allegations against this Wagner group in Mali are that it is accused of war crimes, and and also access to Mali's natural resources as potential payoff. Okay, so Wagner Group presents in Burkina Faso. So currently, Wagner Group is currently negotiating a new security contract with the military government of Burkina Faso, which recently asked soldiers from France to leave after they fought for around a decade against Islamic insurgents. Okay, so and also the influence is that it coordinated a social media campaign accusing France of inadequate action against the jihadists. So this is what it has been doing in this country, Burkina Faso. And also apart from these things, so there are some crimes that Wagner troops are accused of. So if we talk about that, Russian prosecutors say three Wagner mercenaries killed and tortured civilians. So this is also that the crime that Wagner troops are accused of. So in Kiev in 2022, alongside regular Russian troops, so generally they are they killed and tortured civilians according to Ukrainian prosecutors. And also according to United Nations and also the French government, this Wagner group is also accused of robbing civilians in the Central African Republic. And in 2020, United States military also accused these Wagner mercenaries of planting landmines and also other implosive devices in and around Libyan capital, that is Tripoli. So these are the different crimes that Wagner troops are accused of. Okay, so in conclusion, Wagner Group's rise and activities pose definitely geopolitical challenges, of course. The conflict between this Wagner Group and the Russian military highlights the growing influence of private military actions in global conflicts, right? And involvement in conflicts and disinformation campaigns, and it also raises concerns about the privatization of warfare and potential erosion of state sovereignty. So these questions are raised in the light of the recent incidents. Okay, it can also complicate efforts for peaceful resolutions because Wagner Group's engagement in conflicts adds complexity to ongoing geopolitical dynamics, and it can really complicate efforts for peaceful resolutions. And so yeah, so that is what we have discussed. So we have seen a lot of things in this video. We have seen what the situation has been like currently in Russia, and also what are how this Wagner group as a mercenary organization rose. Okay, and also we have seen this Wagner group's presence in different countries. So okay, so this is going to be your practice mains question. Assess the challenges and propose measures to regulate the growing influence of private military actors in contemporary conflicts. So this can be a potential question, keeping in mind the recent incident. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.